But I will say this just to the audience, and that is, we invited the other side, the opposition to the bonds, but we did not get a response. So I just wanted you to know that we were being fair, that this group is for the bond, and we did invite. So if anybody is here that wants to speak against the bond, that's fine also. Okay. So I'm gonna let you all take it away. You can introduce yourselves, and you have about 10 minutes. Is that long enough?
More than enough time.
Okay.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
My name is Faith Triggs, and I'm actually, I do advocacy with Habitat for Humanity of the Charlotte region. I also serve as the vice president for the Charlotte Crown Black Real Estate Association. Been very active in the community and probably have been voting since I was 18. And so housing is my thing. I'm a licensed real estate professional in North Carolina and South Carolina. And I actually volunteer with this bond measure because I think it's really important. Now, I hope I'm preaching to the choir, but I wanted to just really take a few minutes. Lisa Crawford is here as well on behalf of the Vote Yes for Bond, and Ryan is here too. Lisa's passing out a brochure. The bond measures this year, they come up every 2 years. So the last one was done in 2020. We're now in the 2022 cycle. And what this is an opportunity for the city of Charlotte to leverage their AAA plus bond, their credit rating, and to put forth bonds for 3 measures. We've got transportation, it's $146.2 million, $50 million for housing, and $29.8 million for neighborhoods. I got on specifically because of the housing piece. As you all know, we have a housing crisis in Charlotte and this region that's just astronomical. We're probably about 30,000 units short on housing, specifically affordable homes and affordable housing, which is a crisis. We're looking at this $50 million specifically to target the Housing Trust Fund, which will identify opportunities, again, for affordable rentals, a small pot set aside for home ownership. Other aspects are transportation, which is critical, just connecting people to get from point A to point B. As you know, Charlotte is growing. You have a lot of folks who are living in exterior parts of the community that are having problems getting to their jobs. It might take them 2 hours. So little things like if you're at the bus stop and it's a grassy pad and you don't have a shelter and you're waiting for the bus. I get so aggravated. I live in Southwest Charlotte. There's a Walmart right off of South Tryon. I can't tell you how many times I've seen elderly folks waiting on a grassy pad and it's raining and they don't have any shelter. And those cars are coming by and, splashing them while they're waiting. So little things like bus shelters, neighborhoods, just all the things that we want in a community to support our neighborhoods. And particularly if you look at this one, you've got the Betty's Ford, Roselle Ferry, the 6 corridors that would be covered by this. So I ask you to do the research because I always, if I tell folks or ask folks to do something, I want to make sure that they've done their own research. So I'm voting yes for it. I'm supporting it because I know that although it's not really a lot of money, it's a drop in the bucket for how severe these problems are in all of these areas. But we need the funding. It allows the city to leverage resources and a financial mechanism to support some of the needs that we have in these 3 areas. I'm going to just kind of open it up for questions. We got a few minutes. We can take a couple of questions. Ryan will be here to kind of help me if I'm not able to address something. On the flyer, there's 2 things you can do. You can reach out to Lisa if you have specific questions, Lisa at voteyesforbonds.com, or you can just research our website. Again, I support it. We need it. We have to continue to address the issues to make Charlotte a better city. We have some issues that are we're growing so quickly, and these are just issues that we can't put on the back burner.
Okay.
So
If I can say a couple things, I'm Ryan Bergman. I'm the budget director for the city. I do have to point out that I am not affiliated with the Say Yes for Bond campaign. It's important that I draw that distinction. So I'm just here to help answer questions about what's in the bond. A couple extra things let me mention about it. There was no tax increase that was required for this upcoming bond. The city has not raised property taxes in 4 budget cycles now. So everything that you're voting on in this bond is supported by the current tax rate that's already being paid. A couple of the highlights that were mentioned, let me draw a couple other distinctions about it. One of City Council's biggest priorities this time was around sidewalk funding and pedestrian safety. And the reason that's particularly important, some of these discussions about equity earlier. So when Charlotte was developed over the last 50 to 100 years, what happened in a lot of cases is some of the more affluent neighborhoods, they would have housing developments that had sidewalks built in, more walkable areas. And I provided a long presentation that thankfully for you guys, I'm not going to give today, but it will be on the website that has some of the maps where the sidewalk gaps are, some of the maps on where street lighting is and things like that. And it's in areas that historically didn't get it with the development that created the residential area. So there's a big investment in this bond in transportation, around street lighting, sidewalks, walkability, resurfacing the roads and things of that nature. And then what was also mentioned is the Housing Trust Fund. This will be our 3rd straight $50 million in a row. Prior to that, it was between $5 and $15 million. It primarily provides gap financing currently for new housing developments to maintain affordability for a period of time. And since the Housing Trust Fund was created, there's been about 12,000 units. So those are the big highlights. I thought I'd just add those as well, but happy to answer questions as well, but important that I'm not saying vote yes or no.
Okay, we have Nancy.
Thank you all for being here. I'm a former city council member, and I'm here to say that we city council members made a mistake. With affordable housing, that affordability should never disappear. We did 10 to 20 years if you put money in, but if it's city, state, federal funding in there, it should always, always be affordable. Please, please take my voice to the city council. I'm trying to tell each one of them and the mayor that is fighting. The future will not change if we do not make that a permanent affordability.
Thank you.
I'm passionate.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Kristen.
Good morning. So just kind of ask a question based off the inequities and basically racism that went into the development of Charlotte. The Babies Ford Road corridor. I wanted to know, one, how fixed is this list, as well as with affordable housing and streets, again, just those inequities, will the affordable housing be dumped on the Babies Ford? Well, for traditional Black, low-income side of towns, creating this ideology of what this area is. Also with the streets, what about air quality and noise pollution? Like we have, of course, state roads and federal roads, the highways, that contribute to both noise pollution as well as bad air quality. Will this assist in creating, I guess, I want to say remedies, because again, these are state and federal roads, but how would those be, how would this bond package be contributed to those years and years and years of systemic?
Sure. Yeah. So when you ask about is it fixed, what I would say is the vast majority of our bond funding, about 70% of it, is programmatic, where we're putting money into a sidewalk program or a congestion program or a bike program, and the prioritization for those programs occurs before the bond, but also after the bond, and priorities can shift based on city council. Some of the fixed projects are, of course, like an intersection or things like that. That's likely going to stay where it is. But when you talk about roads, every road or intersection that Charlotte does by policy is a complete street. And what I mean by complete street is it's done with sidewalks, it's done with bikes, it's done in a way to preserve walkability. We get into air quality and things like that. I mean, it's not ingrained in the bond. It's other funding the city has for our strategic energy action plan, where the city of Charlotte is taking a pretty active role in electric vehicles. I think 40% of the electric charging stations in the city are owned by the city. We're consistently putting funds in each year to try to address environmentals. As far as where the affordable housing will be, we do need private partners for it to work with the gap financing rules that we have. I'd also add, though, that City Council has made it a priority to, anytime there's a development where we're putting in public dollars in a public-private partnership, like to bring in jobs, that they are making affordable housing to be part of those discussions. And so I think I got everything. I know it's a lot.
George, Senator Whitehead. Senator Dr. Whitehead.
Thank you so much. I'm really committed to affordable housing. But you mentioned on here to preservation of existing house. And when you think about preservation of existing house, what will that look like when it comes to our elderly, when it comes to these communities that some of our like older communities that have been there, where people have been there for a long time? How will they benefit and how will it help them?
So I heard mention naturally occurring affordable housing earlier in the Pepper Tree Apartments. We have tried to start these new programs where if a developer will invest in existing housing stock to bring it up to code, make it better, that the additional tax revenue that comes in, we basically would use in Pepper Tree's case to keep the rents affordable. But I think what you're referring to more is anti-displacement and staying in place. And quite a bit of resources from ARPA and city dollars over the last year, and presumably it'll be a priority in upcoming budgets, has been committed to programs designed to help keep people in place, whether it's preventing people from leaving from simple repairs or a tree in their property or things of that nature, anti-displacement. We have what's called the Nest Commission, which is a citizen group that works on anti-displacement efforts that feeds into the city council. So it is certainly talked about all the time and a huge priority for city council.
And Habitat also does a lot with critical home repair because we have a big support of making sure people are allowed to age in place. So that's another reason why we think this is important, because a lot of times, people are retired, they're on fixed income, they have homes that they've lived in for maybe 35, 40 years, and they're not able to do the repairs on them. So all of this is really important in making sure that people can age in place and they have, livable communities.
Okay, we want to thank you for coming, but I do want to close with this. I'm sorry that we're not going to get to every question because it is 10 minutes to 10. And with affordable housing, we just want to make sure that the west side of Charlotte is not burdened with all of the low-income housing, and which seems to be what happens. And we hear a lot that the land is so expensive in our places, but we know that money has never been an issue when it comes to buying land. So we just want to make sure, I'm for the bonds sometimes, and sometimes I'm not.
Understood.
Because I look at past history of what has been done in the African American. We don't seem to get, but we get the worst part of the bond, I should say, if any. So I think that you need, when you give your presentations, you really need to give that message that all of these low income, and I hate to say low income, but affordable housing will not be placed on the west side of Charlotte. But some of it is gonna go to the southeast, Valentine, and that area. It's a hot political topic, I know. You know, not, what is it, NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Right.
But we've got to, as African-American people, we have got to stand up to this and say that we're not gonna vote on these bonds if you're not gonna, you're gonna put it all on us, give us the burden all the time. So you gotta get that message out and get some, you got city council, Ed Triggs over there, you protect them, you teach them to get anything. Like,
Agreed.
so, you know, we gotta speak out. Okay, thank you for coming. If you all want to stay around a little bit, you can, and we got to close it down. Thank you so much.